My name is Christine Novello. I'm the president of the governing board of Sun City West. So on behalf of all of our board of directors, we want to welcome you here to the community. I know that many of you are residents of Sun City West, but many of you, or a few of you that I've met in passing, are also visiting us from some of our neighboring communities. So again, welcome. We're very happy to have you here this morning. We've invited, as a community service, we've invited the Maricopa Association of Governments, or MAG, to come here and speak to us all, to update us on some of the projects, and specifically this project, which is going to touch on us very closely. So we're very pleased again to have you here, but on behalf of all of us, I do want to welcome Mr. Brad Williams to the microphone. Brad is the Special Projects Coordinator from the Maricopa Association of Governments, or MAG, and he'll be walking us through the updates on the corridor. So again, thank you and welcome.
And thank you to all of you for your patience in waiting. I'm sorry we started a little bit late. Before we get into the presentation, some of you may not know what the Maricopa Association of Governments is and what we do. So I'll just give you a quick background. We're an organization that's made up of all of the cities and towns in Maricopa County and North Pinal County. There are 27 cities and counties and towns. Also, the Arizona Department of Transportation, the State Transportation Board, are members as well, plus 3 Native nations and the 2 counties themselves. We're governed by the mayors of all of the towns and the directors of all of our member agencies. So for example, our regional council, which is the organization that makes all the major decisions, the chairman of the regional council right now is the mayor of El Mirage. You have people from whatever community you're living in representing you on our regional council. We make decisions on a number of things for the region. One of them is planning the highways and freeways. And of course, Prop 479, the sales tax that goes into highways and freeways, pass through MAG so we can program those improvements. The project I'm going to talk to you about today is one of the studies that we do to determine what will be needed in the future so we can go through the process of preparing to do those things. So let's get started. I think you will know very well where this project is located. It's Route 60, Grand Avenue, from the 303, from Loop 303 all the way up to State Route 74. That's about 18.5 miles. It's about 20 miles northwest of downtown. And what you'll see here is that it's a very wide study area. The green line is Grand Avenue. But we had to make this a large study area simply for the fact that there's not much infrastructure out there today. A lot of this is still very rural, desert. A lot of the roads that are going to be built haven't been built yet. So we had to determine how those roads are going to be built and when they're going to be built to figure out how they can access Grand Avenue. And that's why we have such a large area. So it's a large part of it is in the city or the planning area of the city of Surprise, and a smaller part is the city of Peoria and their planning area. Go back a minute. What is our study purpose? Our study purpose is identify where transportation improvements are going to be needed between now and the year 2050, and when are they going to be needed. So let's go through a little bit of background. I'll start with our stakeholders, the cities of Surprise and Peoria, Arizona ADOT, the State Land Department, and you'll see there also BNSF, and I'll tell you why we've included that. In our study, we're trying to look out to the year 2050 and assume that all the development that's being planned by the year 2050 is included in our study. We don't want to make any decisions on what is going to get built and what's not going to get built. If it's planned and it's in the all these jurisdictions have it in their plans, we put it in, and that included BNSF. So we've specifically worked with BNSF so they can give us the very detailed numbers on how many vehicles, how many trucks, when are they going to open, and all of that information was provided to us. But we're treating it just like every other development in the entire study area. If it's on somebody's plan, we put it in because we don't want to miss something. We don't want to underestimate what the demand is going to be. Where we are at the moment, we're nearly finished with this. We have had 3 public meetings. Maybe some of you have attended them. But we've gone through a process where we developed some alternatives, we studied them, and we've come up with a series of recommendations. And I'm going to go through a little bit of analysis and then share with you the key recommendations that we're making. There's a final report that's underway now. That report will be finished in the next month or 2. It will go to MAG's policy committees for acceptance, and at that point, then we can share the whole document with the public. It'll be a public document. And it will help the jurisdictions plan for the transportation improvements that they need. So we had one public meeting, 150 people came, and it was quite active. It was an open house in person. And they told us that the most important priorities were fixing traffic congestion, provide access to State Route 60 and to the 303, and safety. Very high. These are all very high priorities to them. So now let's look at some of the key findings that we've made. The first finding is how quickly this area is going to grow. The study area that you see there has a population of about 50,000 people today. Back in 2010, it was less than 5,000. Well, another 50,000 are going to be moving in between today and 2030, 5 years from now, 4 to 5 years from now. And by 2050, it's going to be close to 250,000 people. Okay, that's all the development that the jurisdictions are dealing with right now as proposals that are going to be coming into play. So what I'm going to show you now is this dot diagram for the study area. Every gold dot that you see represents 15 people. This is a population density map. So each dot represents 15 people. 100 dots, 1,500 people. 1,000 dots are 50,000 people. So what you can see here is south of the 303, we have quite a dense development already in place. And in 2020, almost nothing on the north side. So let's look what's going to happen over the next several years. By 2030, now we're seeing development on the north side that's as dense or more than on the south side. And that continues all the way to 2050 when we reach 250,000 people. So that's a tremendous amount of growth, and it's not slowing down. It's still coming at the same pace that it's been coming. So we know that there are now some serious transportation problems that those 50,000 people who now live here and all of you are experiencing tremendous congestion at the interchange of the 303 and Grand Avenue. And this is just an example going back to early 2024 when this issue became really serious, and you could see traffic backups, especially on Grand Avenue and also 163rd Avenue, just tremendous congestion. It could take 20 minutes just to get from 163rd Avenue onto the 303 freeway. We've been doing, we meaning ADOT, the City of Surprise, MAG is helping, have been putting small improvements in there to make things better. I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the question is, why is it so congested there and not everywhere? Why is it just in that location? So I hope you can see there are some light blue circles. Can you see the light blue circles? Those are the interchanges that exist. And you'll see, so if I start at the bottom, there's an interchange at Bell Road, then there's an interchange at Grand Avenue. The next one is 4 miles away, and that's El Mirage Road, and that only connects to the south. It doesn't connect to the north. And then we have other interchanges there. Now, the reason that so many people are using Grand Avenue is that if you're on the north side and you want to get to the 303, you have a distance of 9 miles where there's only one interchange you can use, right? All the way from Happy Valley Road to Bell Road, there's only one interchange in that area. So what does that mean? It means everybody has to use it. And as the population grows, it just astronomically overwhelmed that area. So now we understand the problem that we have to deal with. Now let's look at the year 2050, 25 years from now. And here, there are plans for additional interchanges. I'll talk a little bit about one or two of these later. But you can see some of them are green and some of them are brown. So the three that are green on the west carry more traffic than the ones on the right. So, and these are in 2050. There are more interchange in this diagram than we have today. So this is adding more interchanges. This is what we see. So the west interchanges, the green ones on the left side, they are going to serve almost 300,000 people coming from the study area down to those interchanges. And then the east side, there we go, is only going to serve about half that. And the interesting thing, what this means, of course, is that these three on the left side are much more of a challenge, especially at Grand Avenue, because the traffic in 2050 wanting to go to the Grand Avenue interchange with the 303 will be more than the 5 brown intersections all added up together. And it's actually 170,000 cars a day, which is a very large freeway number. So this is the challenge that we have to deal with. Now I'm going to move to a different topic, and that is the arterial street system in the study area. You can see all these light gray lines. They represent all of the streets that are in the general plans of Surprise and Peoria and Maricopa County. And it's quite extensive, as you can see. So what we did is we went and looked at the year 2050. Do all of these roads need to be built? I mean, if it's supposed to be 3 lanes in each direction with a median for turning, do we need all of that by the year 2050? And we got some interesting results when we looked at that. The green lines are lines where you don't need the full capacity. If it's 6 lanes is in the master plan, maybe 4 lanes is enough. If it's 4 lanes in the master plan, maybe 2 lanes are enough. And you can see that's a large percentage of the arterial street system. But there certainly are roads that need to be built to full capacity. And those are the ones you see here in blue. And then there are others that need even more. These red lines are showing where we're going to need to widen those roads even beyond what's in the general plan. And you'll see that there are 2 big long red lines. The diagonal one is Grand Avenue. The reason that's red is right now there are no plans to widen Grand Avenue in place. So clearly that is going to need to change. But you'll also see there's a big red line on Bell Road and Sun Valley Parkway. And if you look closely, I don't know if you can tell, right near the 303, the red line gets darker. Do you see where it's darker? That's because in 2025, if this were to be an arterial street, it would need to be 5 lanes in each direction. Okay, that carries more traffic than any arterial street in the region carries today, and it would require more lanes than any arterial street has in the region today. So that is an issue. That's an arterial street, so it's not MAG. We don't have the authority to plan to improve that. That becomes a local jurisdiction issue. But it's one that we've highlighted here as something that, that needs to be addressed. So what we learned from this is we know some roads are definitely going to need to be improved. But there are a lot of roads that what is there today might be fine. Some of the green lines might not even be needed by 2050 if there haven't been any developments built by that time. But it helps us to understand, again, the purpose of our study. The purpose of our study, identify where those transportations are going to be needed and when. So at this point, we had our second public meeting, and this was interesting. We put together a series of alternative solutions to problems. And then we had people go online and answer a bunch of questions about all those alternatives. There are a bunch of numbers here. 250 roughly people responded to that, and they actually answered 4,800 questions, which means on average every person who went online to take this survey answered 22 questions. That told us that these people are committed, they're interested, and they really want to see results. So it certainly was a statement to us that the community in this area is very interested in this. The most popular alternatives was improving access to the 303 and improving access to Grand Avenue. So now I'm going to move into the recommendations that we've made. And the first one is to deal with Loop 303, US 60, and 163rd Avenue. We know that that is the worst problem in perhaps the whole region, and it has to be addressed. It's a very complicated problem, and it takes a complicated solution to make it work. And that comes in 3 steps. The first step are actions you may already have noticed. We've added lanes here and there. We've done things to increase capacity that can be done very quickly. That's only the first step, to try and at least ease the pain as much as possible until large capital projects can be built. The second one is to build a new interchange nearby, so there's an alternative. That is, I'll talk about that more in a minute. That's already being designed, so that's one part of the solution. That's the second step. The third step then is to tackle the problem from 163rd down to the 303 on Grand Avenue. The reason it's like this is, imagine, if you will, that we don't have an alternative. It's going to be 6 miles to Happy Valley or 3 miles to Bell Road, and then we close Grand Avenue to construct a bridge on top of it. Imagine what the chaos would be if we did that. We have to wait until the new interchange is placed, so there's an alternative, and people aren't going to be just totally, unable to move. So the first thing I want to do is show you the short-term improvements that are underway and still underway. There are additional improvements still under construction now. I'm not going to go through the details, but I think many of you have seen some of those improvements, adding left turn lanes, things like that. So now the second part is to build a new interchange. So in the diagram on the right, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the Grand Avenue 303 interchange with the loop ramps there. And then about a mile east on the 303, there's another interchange. Now, this is a very strange looking interchange, and the reason for that is a couple of things. The first one is it can't connect to the south because that area is completely developed. There's no place for it to connect, so it only connects to the north. And the second reason is there are some electric power lines, high power lines that are paralleling the freeway. And if you build a bridge, it runs right into the power lines. So they have to be down on the ground. So the way that we do that is we take the ramps and move them all to the northern side and bring them together at grade at a signalized intersection. And then the road can go underneath the power lines. So that's the reason it looks this way. And I know there will be some questions about this. ADOT did the study to decide this was the location. So that study looked at it, and one of the criteria was to minimize the visual impact on the south side. So the way that that's done is those ramps are going to be next to the golf course, so that they're at least as far away as possible from any residences. So that was a decision made by ADOT at that time. That this project now, they're in the process of hiring, I think they've already hired a design team that's designing that interchange so it can move as fast as possible through the project development process. Now, the third step is major upgrades to the existing interchange. Here you can see two green circles. The circle on the bottom is the interchange of the 303 and Grand Avenue. The circle on the top is the intersection of 163rd Avenue and Grand Avenue. So I'm going to take them one at a time, beginning with the one on the bottom. So what we've done here, the primary theme of these improvements is to separate the big traffic movements apart from each other so that we don't, number one, we want to get rid of as much weaving as we can. And number two, it's just that it would require so many lanes that it would be really difficult to do. But by separating the movements, we can fix that. And so what we've done at the interchange itself, we're going to put an elevated, it's called a diverting diamond interchange, which is similar to the interchange of Happy Valley Road and the 17, if any of you are familiar with that. But it's a very high capacity interchange that will be elevated above the freeway. And then I'll show you some more details. And of course, we have some boards in the back that you want to look at. The other one is also going to be an elevated intersection. This is called a single point urban diamond interchange. There are several of these around in the region, so that the traffic using Grand Avenue will stay on the ground. If you're making a turn, it would be up in the air. All right, so again, we're separating the movements. And so this is what the overall system looks like when we do that. So we have, coming from the left side, that would be coming in a southwest direction. You're coming down to get to 163rd and then to the 303. And in the middle, there's a total of 16 lanes in the middle there, but they're not 16 lanes altogether. They're split apart, so we're separating the traffic. So let's look at how some of the traffic movements would work. If you're coming in a southeast direction on Grand Avenue and you want to get on the 303, what happens is you can get off onto a separate at-grade ramp before you get to 163rd, and that would never stop, no signals, complete all the way through, and you get onto the 303 without stopping. Totally removed from all the other traffic. If you're coming from 163rd and you want to do that, you have to make a left turn at that elevated intersection. But remember, all the traffic on Grand Avenue is gone. It's down below. So there's very little traffic to compete with that, and it works very well. And from there, it's all the way through. Now, if you're going to in the other direction, say from here, going in the northwest direction, you can see that there's a new alignment here, the blue line. So if you're going to 163rd Avenue, you would be on this blue line. If you're coming up from northbound 303, that blue line, they come together with a signal, but it's only those two movements. All the other traffic's been removed. And so then they can go all the way onto 163rd without stopping again. So that's just a little illustration. We have some boards in the back that you can look at to get a little more familiar with what that looks like. So here's the status of these three steps. The minor improvements, construction is nearly completed by summer. I think what can be done in that is going to be done. 155th Avenue, Loop 303 interchange, design is already starting on that, and we're looking for construction to begin in 2028. It's got to go through the environmental review process. It's got to go through several stages of design, and that's really fast tracking it as much as we can. And then the major upgrades, design of that is also going to start this year. As soon as our study report is finished, ADOT will advertise for designers to start designing this. And the objective is the day the 155th Avenue interchange opens is the day we start construction on the major upgrades. We don't know if we can achieve that. There are some issues with cash flow and the design process to deal with, but that's what we're trying to achieve. All right, now there are other needs that need to be addressed. And here you can see we've got these circles. The green oval is fixing the interchange that we just talked about. But we also need to improve things at Bell Road and at El Mirage Road. We know that that's going to be completed. Design is nearly finished on completing that so that the El Mirage Road can continue north. And that will be coming in the near future. And even at Lone Mountain Road, there's a lot of traffic. Actually, Lone Mountain Road becomes a very attractive bypass around the freeway by 2050. Now, here's an interesting thing. This is, we're now talking about how do you get access to Grand Avenue, US 60. And so we've identified 8 places where the general plan road networks create a possibility that you could have a connection there, a connection that would go across. So you could actually cross from one side to the other side through a signal or an interchange, whatever it is. That connection would be a 4-leg connection. And we found 8 locations where that's possible. Now, the reason we went through this process, if you look down at number 8 is 163rd at the bottom. Number 7 is at Jomax Road, and eventually it will be Pat, I can't remember his name right now. Thanks. From Asante, we'll go there as well, okay? That's a distance of 4 miles. So that means never, if you get past 163rd, there will never be another opportunity to go from one side to the other side for 4 miles. We don't want that to continue. So we've identified every place where we need to be sure that that connection is protected, so that even if it takes 20 or 30 years before the connection is there, it's protected and somebody hasn't taken the opportunity away. Now, this is for the southern part of Grand Avenue, and this is from Patton Road down to the 303. We want to look at what's happening there so that we can understand what this development is going to look like. This is the same dot map that I showed you earlier that shows the density in the year 2050, just blown up. And it covers the same area that's in the square. So here you can see the 303 is in the middle. South of the 303, there's, let's call it medium development until you get close to Bell Road, and then it gets higher. North of the 303, it's all at that higher density. Well, what does it mean if it's a higher density? So the next thing is I've drawn a square basically from Meeker Road down to Bell Road. And I want you to see what the development looks like for that area today. And it looks like this, okay? So north of the 303, by the year 2050, we're going to have development that's even higher density than what exists there. So that is what's coming. You saw those projections of population. This is where they're going to live, a whole lot of them. So we have to expect that the characteristics of Grand Avenue between the 303 and Patton Road are going to be like they are south of the 303. High density of development, frequent signalized intersections, unsignalized driveways for gas stations or for medical facilities or schools, fast food, whatever, and reduced speed limits. That's what this portion of it is going to look like by the year 2050. Now, the north of Patton, this is still going to be rural. The density is not nearly as high. This is going to grow, but at a much later date, beyond 2050. But the issue we have, every red circle that you see there is an existing access point to Grand Avenue. And the speed limit, of course, is 65 miles an hour, right? So the growth in traffic is going to be so high. And it's not just cars, it's also trucks. And it's not just BNSF trucks, it's a whole lot of regional trucks that are coming in here. So much traffic is going to be there that there's a process that you go through to decide when a signal is needed or some safety measure is needed. All of these dots are going to meet that by the year 2050 because the traffic on Grand Avenue is going to be that high. So something has to be done to find a way to organize this. And that is something that we call it an access management plan. Now, ADOT can prepare an access management plan, but they have a problem. And the problem they have is, by law, they're not allowed to enforce it. Okay? The reason they can't enforce it is because the State Transportation Board has never, ever approved an access management plan on one of the highways that they operate. And to think that they're going to change that behavior in the future is unrealistic. There is a different solution, however. There is someone who can enforce the plan, and that's the local jurisdictions. They can enforce where the streets go. They can enforce whether or not they connect to Grand Avenue. They have the enforcement ability to do that. Most of this is in the city of Surprise or in the Surprise planning area. Some of it is in unincorporated Maricopa County. Okay, we have strong support from the council, from the staff to do this and to put in place an access management plan that removes the chaos, so that we're just not, every time somebody gets that one last car that says, okay, we have to take a safety measure, we start throwing up traffic signals on a 65-mile-an-hour road. There's other ways, and the local jurisdictions have to figure out exactly how to do that, to come up with a plan that can be safer than the current situation. Because if we don't do something, I can't imagine what the level of danger will be on these roads. So here we have a rural environment, high speed limits, growing truck volumes, but the primary focus here is safety. We have to find a way to allow people to get on and off of this road safely, even as the traffic grows. So now I talked about the fact, when do you need the improvements? And I have just a couple slides left and we'll be done. This is showing where there are projects that are already programmed, meaning there's already money in the pot to do these things. So you can see at the bottom in yellow, you can see all the improvements at Grand Avenue and the 303 and 163rd. In red, you can see the 155th Avenue interchange. And then you see other things like the extension of El Mirage Road going north. There's filling in gaps on Joe Max Road. All of these things are programmed. And over the next 5 years or so, all of these are going to be open to traffic. So that seems like a lot. I mean, this is many hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. But remember how fast things are growing. This isn't going to be enough. Okay, now what we're looking at is, this again is looking at the general plan road network. And it's sort of showing you over time how many of these roads are going to be needed. And the red one is new roads that don't exist today. Blue is existing roads that need to be widened. So we have this information now to share with the local jurisdictions so they can begin the process of planning for coming up with the resources to do those things. Most of the time, the private developers build these roads, right? That's how these roads generally get built. And if you don't have a development, you don't need the road, right? So they have to build the road for their development. But there will be gaps, and those gaps are going to have to be filled by the local jurisdictions. So our summary is we have these recommendations to improve access to the 303 and to US 60 and to other interchanges on the 303. We also want to implement this access management plan, that the local jurisdictions can do that to be sure that over time things are organized. So that is the end of the presentation. Just one more time. Within the next couple of months, this will all be done. The final report will be accepted by our policy committees, and then we can move on to implementation and planning. So with that, are there anyone want to ask a question?
Is this
Yes.
PowerPoint presentation available online?
It is. In fact, you can see the presentation that was given to our final public meeting, which was in November.
And you have the PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint, it's actually a video of the presentation. all right? And it has many other things. One of them is we have a micro simulation. So you can actually watch the cars moving through that interchange. And it's there. You can just open it up on the website and look at it. We have one for the AM peak hour and one for the PM peak hour. You can see where the trucks are and how they all move through, and you can see how this will work in the year 2050.
And it's available if I go to the Maricopa Association of Governments webpage?
Yes, it is. You go to the webpage, azmag.gov, then go to transportation, and then scroll down to get to the US 60 corridor study. Click on there. That webpage will give you everything that I just discussed.
And, I'm sorry, the first webpage said was what?
azmag, Arizona Mag. So azmag.gov. Yes.
My question is on step,
Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't you, why don't you go ahead and please
right.
others come to the.
Is this on now?
microphone.
That's good. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was working before. I'm here for step number 2. If you can address step number 2 for me again and maybe put up one of your slides. I contacted all of the residents that are along Las Brisas and the area along the 303 that live here in Sun City West. I stumbled across your presentation on the loop for Grand Avenue, and in doing so, found step number 2, and nobody has ever received notification of this. Not one person. I contacted over and over and over ADOT as to what was going on, what was their mitigation strategy, what were they doing, how come they're changing it. It's called 155th, but you know it's not 155th. 155th was much further to the west, and then after some meetings that they had without doing additional studies, they moved it all the way further to the east. So it's actually at 152nd right now in my backyard. Their original study said that the 155th had limited impact on anybody, but the one that was at about 149th, that was right up the block, had medium. They didn't do a new study, but they moved it from 155th over to now 152nd. They didn't make any changes in it. So I don't understand how they did any of this stuff without notification of any people. They should have been having hearings and notifying us. I asked ADOT, what did you do to give notifications? Oh, it's on their website. I said, do you think I go on your website to get notifications? No. I said, you send me something that's going to affect my property and all the other people that are in the area. They never did that. I said, why didn't you send out to 150 people direct mailing so we could have all come forward and expressed our concerns regarding the whole process? We weren't technically a stakeholder apparently because the golf course was interpreted to be a buffer zone from noise and light and everything else that put us theoretically outside of their zone of giving people notice. That is so ridiculous. The golf course has no bearing whatsoever on noise and surely not on light. I asked them to give us a verification of what mitigation they're doing for light shrouding, for heights of walls, for everything. Total zero. Absolute zero. Your organization was the only one that actually responded to me and said, hey, here's the information from the person that's at DADOT, write to them. I wrote to them, and I got a rather snarky letter back as to the fact that they gave all these hearings and everything else. I said, where did you do all this stuff? We don't have any notification of it. Did you come to Sun City West and have anything? No, they didn't do anything. And use that buffer of that golf course as being the reason why we didn't get it is just pathetic. I don't know how you're going to qualify this for $95 million overpass in our backyard and get federal funding when you have not complied with most of the NEPA provisions as far as giving proper notification to everybody and including the mitigation. You look now on what they're asking for mitigation. They have nothing. We're going to do this in the planning process going forward. That's not how you do mitigation. You let people know what are you going to do regarding the walls, how much height are you going to change it to, what sort of light shrouding are you doing, how you're going to affect the noise impact. The current standard or baseline for the 303 was based upon something from about 10 years ago. and has not changed as far as the baseline. So they're trying to go back on that old baseline as far as noise. If you go out to that 303 and you listen now between motorcycles and trucks and everything else, and the promise from years ago, I've lived there for 20 years, the promise that they made back when they put in this of doing new sorts of technology for the asphalting and whatever that was going to be noise resistant was a joke. It didn't change anything. They raised the back wall about 3 feet. That changed nothing. And now you're going to put in a whole ramp system. If you look at that, it's actually using up some of the golf course right away. It actually comes into the golf course, and you got ramps going all over the place. No one has done appropriate studies. No one has given the people that are affected by this any sort of information. I thank you for your participation in this because you're the only ones. ADOT has been pathetic, absolutely pathetic.
Thank you for
Let me
those
go
comments.
one more for it, okay? Where are we going with it? You look at that and you addressed it, El Mirage. I said to these people, you've got Peoria extending El Mirage all the way up to Jomax. I said, why don't you take the road that's there and go down and enter at El Mirage and go northwest from El Mirage and go across basic desert. Nothing's in that area. Go under and go up, and I think it's Happy Valley Road, and you tie into Happy Valley Road, and I bet the cost of that would probably, estimating wise, no bridges, nothing else like that, and it's about maybe a $10 million project versus $95 million, and it has minimal impact on people. Who's coordinating it? ADOT's coordinating El Mirage project, and they're coordinating the 155th, if you want to call it that. But they have not looked at the two of them together. Whoever does anything like that? You got two different projects running side by side, but you don't put them together and say, can we solve something a little bit more realistically? So I don't know. That's where I'm at. It's pretty sad.
Thanks for that. I have some bad news and some good news to share with you. The bad news is that this has been an ADOT process, and that decision is made. It was given to us, and we're moving with what they decided. The good news is that what you see here in this drawing is an illustration. This has not gone through any of the things other than the planning work that was done. There's no design that's been done on this yet. So as the design begins, those green lines are going to move around. I don't know exactly what the exact alignment will be. And the good news is they're forced by federal law to share that information as they go through it. So you're going to have a number of opportunities to stand up when an ADOT person is here and have those conversations and to be sure that your concerns are heard.
The problem is ADOT does not give out appropriate notifications. We should have gotten that notification before this. They had hearings apparently back in late 2024 and early 2025. And again, I asked everybody that I know on the west, well, that would be the south side of the 303 right there, up and down the road. Nobody knew anything. I was the first one telling these people that this ramp is supposed to be going in. You know, I mean, that's not acceptable, you know. And I don't trust ADOT to give me any notification of anything because they surely haven't done it so far.
I can share that with ADOT and let them know what you said.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Let me just say, I'll be quick. I second everything that gentleman said. First time I knew about any of this is when I received a notice that he came to my house to see. You said we'll be able to respond, or ADOT will have, you know, meetings, you know, once more final plans are made. What's to say that any change can be made at that time? Everything I've read said it's pretty much set. That's it. The 155th Street option was the option that they chose. And I have not been able to find any diagram where I can specifically see where those bridges coming near the golf course come in. And this gentleman has already said there's been no mitigation talk about sound or vision. And it's going to substantially affect the value of our properties that are up against that golf course. So, yeah, quality of life. Who's going to want to live across from a bridge with trucks? You know, literally, well, I've lasered the wall. The wall's about 45 yards from our backyards. So if you're talking another 10 yards, you're within 60, 70 yards of truck traffic coming onto 303. So I just think it's atrocious that residents haven't been notified, you know, of this situation until it's almost final. So again, I concur with everything that this gentleman said.
Thank you.
I live here in the northwest quadrant of Sun City West, and when that intersection all got completed, I could never envision what goes on there today. Some days right now, the 3 lanes northbound on Grand Avenue back up all the way from the 303 to Trader Joe's. Solid, all the way out to 163rd. Once it starts backing up, it gets worse and worse and worse, and you're stuck in that with no way to get off. What's available today through cameras, technology, or whatever to sequence those traffic lights to deal with the traffic when they could see it building up, so you get a longer intervention of the green light to relieve the traffic that's backing up. Otherwise, I see just a few cars getting on and the traffic light stays green for 40 seconds. It needs to change right away and start to relieve some traffic, but it doesn't. It just keeps backing up. But once it backs up past R.H. Johnson, the Chevron station, or clear down to Trader Joe's, you're just stuck. You're stuck. Is there anything that anybody can do to sequence the traffic lights to help relieve this?
The answer to the question is they are doing things that will help them to sequence this traffic lights better and still providing more lanes than currently are there. So that is still underway. You haven't seen the end result of the improvements. I will tell you, however, that just between 2023 and 2025, there have been 20,000 more people move in. So the traffic is growing so fast that these improvements can only do so much. And I hate to tell you this, but it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I can see that.
Everything that can be done now is being done. To do more makes it a major capital investment. It requires environmental and a long, process for design. That takes time. We're moving it as fast as we can to get it done. But 155th is very optimistically planned to open to traffic by 2030, right? If everything goes the way we hope it does, that will be open to traffic by 2030. Then we start building the main problem, fixing that, which is going to take a few years beyond that. So as bad as it is, ADOT and the cities have, and with MAG's assistance, has done everything that it can do now without moving into the major investments. And those, we're moving design on those as fast as we can.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Carolyn. I noticed we're not addressing Highway 60. Is it because it's a federal highway and 303 is a state?
It's because it is, it's a federal highway, but it's
Right.
operated by the state, okay?
So, and any funds on fixing that has to come from the federal government, separate from the 303?
No, not necessarily. It's still available under Prop 479, and MAG is able to program money for that. At the existing time, no money has been done to do that.
Okay.
ADOT doesn't have a plan. We haven't had a plan.
Yeah.
From this study, we are learning that we're going to have to find a way to widen Grand Avenue and get some of these improvements in place. And so that becomes a challenge that is going to take a while for us to work through to see where we can find revenues to do that.
So 60 comes after everything else, is what you're telling us.
I wouldn't say it that way. I think.
Well, it sounds like it
needs
is.
to come earlier than that.
Let me tell you my experience on 60. My children were here, and last fall, they wanted to rent a U-Haul, which was 30 miles north of Wickenburg. And I said, 7:30 in the morning, no problem. I'll give you a ride out there and you can pick it up. There was 7:30 in the morning, 3 semi-accidents I saw on 60 going into Wickenburg and up to get that U-Haul. I couldn't believe it. 3 of them were off the road. My concern with all these semis is who's driving them? That's 7:30 in the morning. And then there was another one over there on 303. And with the railroad traffic coming in from the BNS out there, the semis that are going to be hitting 60, when that goes in, it's going to be unbelievable. And I think they really need to concentrate on 60 before they even think about anything else around here.
You're absolutely right that 60 has not gotten the attention it should have had, right? This study is making that point. This study is creating information that describes the need and the urgency of the need. So when this is over, I can assure you that our member agencies that run MAG are aware of this issue and will be working on finding a faster solution. This report is just basically saying nothing is being programmed for this and it really needs to happen. So that's the first step. Now, MAG is aware that this needs to happen. We can start working on finding ways to accelerate that kind of improvement.
It better be pretty quick, but look at the growth that's having that area out there, Happy Valley and all those roads back up to Wickenburg. It's all full of hundreds of thousands of homes already that have been built out there because I've been out there. And so it seems to me like what is happening on 60 should be addressed pretty quickly.
I agree with you. And that issue, this report is what has highlighted that issue. Now it's an issue that we know about, and now we have to figure a way to get some money programmed.
Thank you.
My name is Norm. I'm curious. I've been following this Interstate 11 thing for the last 10 or 11 years, and Highway 60 is supposed to be part of Interstate 11, all the way from the border of Mexico all the way to Canada. How are we going to do this too?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that I can give you a very good answer because I haven't been following the Highway 11 history over time. Yeah, what I do know is that it's still a ways off, and I don't know that the alignment has actually been decided yet. So whether it uses a part of US 60 or not, I don't know whether that is even still planned to go there or go somewhere else. So I can't really give you any knowledgeable response to your question.
Okay, my name is Lana, and I live in Sun City West, and I really hope BNSF moves. But at this point, from what I understand, their access road is right by Natterberg School, and I would think that they would be required to make their own entrance and exit and leave those little school kids alone. Can I put that into the design, please?
Well, I'll talk about this in a few ways. Number one, MAG is not participating in any of the negotiations that BNSF is going through. We're not a participant in that process. Our role here is to do planning based on what looks to be happening. And so that's the way we've approached this. I will say that we have in our plan some things that I think are going to help the school a great deal. You're talking about Whitman now, I think, right? All right, so you have Center Street, which has a traffic signal. Sometime in the future, I don't think it's very far away, Dove Valley is going to be extended and it's going to go across on both sides of Grand Avenue. And when that happens, what we're recommending from our study is, oh, and let me add, our study doesn't say what's elevated and what's not. We don't address whether something has an at-grade crossing of the railroad or if it's going to be up in the air. That's a part of the negotiation. We're not participating in that. So we're just talking about where the connections are. But the plan is that we recommend is when Dove Valley goes across and you have a connection with Grand Avenue at Dove Valley, then you're going to take the signal that's at Center Street and move it up to Dove Valley and then elevate Center Street so that it goes over the railroad, it goes over Grand Avenue with no connection at all. It becomes a very local street. You can get across, but you can't get onto it. There's no reason any truck would ever want to use that road. So that's what we're recommending. I might be able to show you a slide, but I don't want to extend the meeting more. So does that sound good?
I hope.
I guess I could say good afternoon. My name is Ron. I haven't heard you mention anything about the railroad and how that affects 60, of which that's concerned me. They kind of backed off that to my knowledge, but temporarily, but they haven't given up the possibility of growing another area in that area. What's your position of understanding what's going on, and what are you preparing for?
All right. I will repeat what I said just a minute ago. MAG does not participate in any negotiations with any developer. That's not in our remit, okay? We plan for the region. And the growth of the region, much of it is given to us. It comes from the state. It comes from the local cities, what's being planned. We take all that information and then we do our forecasting. So I'm very much not involved in the negotiations that are going on. From our study, we just want to say, here's where we need the access points. These are the locations. They need to be protected. If they're at grade, the intersections will look like this. If they're elevated, they would be bigger, but we're not addressing when they would become elevated. So that's the way this project is moving forward. And as I said earlier, there are a whole lot of trucks growing and they're not all coming from one source. And so we've got all of those trucks in there and we're doing our planning. We don't want to take something out and then 15 years from now say, oops, we should have included that. Now we're all congested again. We didn't want to find ourselves in that situation. So if it's on the books, it's in our plan, no matter what it is.
Okay. So it's more state than it is local.
Well, the negotiation is with the local jurisdictions.
Okay.
And the state, of course, too. Any more questions? Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your patience to sitting through all of this.